Okay, so we've created 3 waypoints. Now let's create a task around those waypoints. So start again with the task tools down here. What a task consists of is a sequence of turn points, which have a waypoint inside them, a sequence of turn points. Each turn point has a radius, and one of the turn points will be a start turn point, which will be a start cylinder, which you either have to exit or enter, and one of them will be an end of speed section. So, and the race is between the start of speed section and the end of speed section. After the end of speed section, there could be another turn point, which could be goal, which could be a separate circle from the end of speed section. Likewise, at the start, you could have a different start circle to your race start. In fact, you quite often do. And those are shown in the app using different flags, just to make them easier to see on the map. There's another few parameters, not many, there's a few more parameters that also define the task. One is whether it's a race, so that when the start of speed section opens, it's the same for everybody, or whether it's elapsed. So it could be that you have a personal timer that starts when you exit the start cylinder, or it could be the same for everybody, and you select that as well on one of the buttons. The other one is whether you exit or enter the start of speed section, that's selectable. And finally there's the goal itself could either be a circle or a line. Like in the old days, you'd have a ribbon that you actually had to physically cross, but you can select it to be either a line or a circle as your goal. And then the last two things are the timing, which is the time in the time of day in local time that the speed section opens, and that the land-by time by which you have to have landed. And all of those are settable easily using these buttons, right? So let's do this. First of all, we want to add the turn point to the task, because when you start, there's no turn points in your task. Yeah, your waypoints, but you've got no turn point. So let's add a turn point. That's with this button here, add a turn point to the task. You get presented with a list of all of the waypoints that you have in the phone. And here are the ones we just created: Segovia, Avila, and Piedrahita, and Peña Negra. Now these waypoints are listed, they're sorted in order of distance away from you, so it makes them easier to pick. That's distance away from your home point, or the distance, in this case actually, from the last waypoint you defined. So we're going to add Peña Negra as our start circle. Next, do the same thing again. Next we're going to add Avila as a midway turn point, and then finally we're going to add Segovia as our goal. So our task has, at the moment, it's got 3 turn points in it: Peña Negra, Avila, and Segovia. We haven't set speed section or goal yet, but we can do that in a second, or we haven't set the times either. But the flags, the first circle is given the blue alpha flag, and the last circle is given the red omega flag, just so they're easier to distinguish. Any intermediate turn points are given this little golf flag, little orange flag here. So let's set the radius of these turn points now, and we do that by clicking the Task Tools button again, and we click on the Set Turn Point Radius. So you're prompted to say which turn point it is you want to set the radius of. So our first one, Peña Negra, let's make that, instead of the default 400 meters, let's make it slightly bigger. Let's make it 600 meters. The Avila one, again, Task Tools, Set Turn Point Radius, and Avila. Let's make this slightly bigger to give us a bit more leeway. We want to keep them near the road, but we don't want them to have to go through a very tight turn. So let's make that 2 kilometer radius. And lastly, Segovia, our goal. We'll leave that at 400 metres because you want everyone to land in that particular field by the road, by the hospital. Okay, so just cancel that. Now, this button here, this T button, actually it's just a text preview of what you've created so far. If you just click on this T button, that's the text, you're just presented with what you've created so far. So it's it doesn't have a name yet. This is the time zone that the task is created in, and that's useful to know because when you create the start to speed section time and the goal land by time, that you set those in local time, and the app converts those to UTC, because in the file that you share, the QR code and the XCTask file that you share, those are saved in UTC or Greenwich Mean Time. But using the app, you create them locally because it makes more sense to do it that way. So just to dismiss that, you can just click the T button again to get rid of that little window. Now what we want to do, let's start the time that the race is going to start. And we do that with this SSS button down here. It's red at the moment because we haven't set it yet. So click on this button to set the start of the speed section. So this is Piedrahita, right? Nothing happens before 1 in the afternoon or so. So we'll set it fairly late. Let's start the race at say 2 o'clock. Should be going by then. It's Segovia, so what's that? About 120k. So it's going to be pretty quick. Well, depending on the day, we'll set the land by time here. It still works late into the evening from what I know of the area. So let's set the land by time as 8 o'clock. Well, no, let's say 9 o'clock. Land by 9 o'clock, that should be fine. And because we've set those values, these windows turn green now because they've been set. Right, the only thing we have left to do, so when you click the Task Tools button, you see the Save button here has got a cross through it. It's got a cross through it because you haven't finished yet. You've got unfinished work. If you try and click it, it will make a farty sound at you and come up with a pop-up to say what you haven't done yet. So if I click the Save when I haven't finished, it says start of speed SSS turn point is not set. Okay, we haven't set this start of speed. Okay, so let's set which turn point we want to be the start of speed. We do that with this green flag is the start of speed. The end of speed section is the checkered flag. It's got like racing connotations. So the start of speed, we want that to be Peña Negra. Done. Now if we try and save it, we still can't save it. If we try, it goes end of speed, this turn point isn't set. We haven't set the end of speed. Okay, we need to set the end of speed. So let's set the end of speed, which is going to be Segovia. Segovia end of speed section. Now when we click our text overview, we can see, oops, at the start it says task is race. Yeah, we want everyone to start at the same time in this particular race. The goal type is a cylinder. Yeah, let's leave it as a cylinder. And the speed section is an exit. Yeah, we want everyone to exit to start the speed section. So those are the parameters. That's all fine. We should now be ready to save that. Yeah, our save button, our floppy disk button, now lets us save it. So let's save it and give it a name. Now we can save the task as a name. Now on the naming, try to make the name as sensible as possible. This is going to appear in a large list of names of other tasks, and you want it to kind of stand out. So it should have the basic name of roughly where you are, and maybe something else to distinguish it. So try and make the name fairly meaningful and not just task 1, because it's gonna, you won't find it again if you just call it task 1. So we'll call it Piedrahita Segovia Piedra Segovia 2 p.m. because that's when we set the start of the race, 2 p.m. That might be a little bit late actually, but hey ho. And click save. Okay, now it's saved. Now you can exit the designer, the Create Task Wizard, just by going back on your Android. And when you want to see that again, it's saved now in the phone under that name.